الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل الله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد فقال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا صدق الله العظيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي آمين يا رب العالمين. First of all, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us to be here in this masjid, in this beautiful masjid, after praying the Salat al-Maghrib with Jama'ah, with congregation. For those brothers who are joining us this week, we have had 2 weeks previously on this topic. Today will be the final week, and today inshallah we'll discuss a few things regarding the act of marriage. But before we start, I take a few moments to remember our brothers and sisters in Islam. From today onwards, when you hear the name New Zealand, you will think of other things. In the past, when someone said New Zealand, you probably think about rugby, lambs, sheep. But now, if someone says to New Zealand, something else will come into your mind, and that will be the horrific scenes that some of you may have seen in the videos which happened yesterday before the Salat al-Jum'ah in the city of Christchurch. So our prayers and our thoughts are with them continuously all the time. We should think about their families, think about the ones who have passed away, the shuhada, fi sabilillah. Well, like I said yesterday, we shouldn't be sorry for them. We should be sorry for ourselves. For them, we are happy Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose a time and a place for them. The best of places, the best of time, the best of month, etc. So we cannot really feel sorry for them. Rather, we are happy for them. We rejoice for them. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that don't think that those who have passed away, those who have been killed in my path, as dead. Rather, they are alive. Al-ahya'un عِنَّ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is providing them with rizq, with sustenance, etc. So on this note, after each salat, since yesterday, we have been making dua for them, for their families. And also there is a small vigil tomorrow in the town center. A mixture of masajid, of our priests, our imams have come together. And it's a 10-15 minutes time to be silent and to reflect upon what has happened to the humanity. As a human race, we have become worse than the animals. كَالْأَنْعَامِ بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلُّ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that a time will come that even though you will be in your human flesh, your actions will be worse than the animals. And even the animals don't go as low as this. In the Quran, we are told that once your characteristics, your manners, your adab become lower, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does He do? He makes you go astray. He makes you go astray. So let's make a short dua for them, that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them the highest place in the Firdaus. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give the families, the children, the grandchildren, sabrun jameel in this time of distress and sorrow. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow the whole humankind to take lessons from this. Not just the Muslims, rather than the whole humankind has failed. If we just blame it on the Muslims, then we are doing injustice. Yes, the Muslims have a part to play, but it's the whole humankind who really need to look into themselves, that how far have we gone? Is this really the value of the human blood, that you go and you kill them in the masajids, in the kanisa, in the churches, in the synagogues? This is all against the teachings of Islam and all the religions which we see out. In particular, we are concerned with what Islam teaches us, how much halal and haram we take from the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them peace and comfort in these times of tribulations, and may He allow us, to really pray at all times for the brothers and sisters around the world, wherever they may be suffering. It is not just in New Zealand, like I mentioned yesterday, they are suffering around the world, in Palestine, in Burma, in China, wherever they may be. Make dua to them, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahumma aghfir lahum warhamhum wa'afihim wa'afu anhum. Allahumma aghfir li jami' mawta al-muslimin. Allahumma ashfi mardana wa marda al-muslim. There are injured people among them as well, which we should always make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those who have had shot wounds, gun wounds, these are all people who still need your du'as, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May He give them the shifa kamil in this world and the ajr in the hereafter. Having said that, we will move on to today's topic, inshallah wa ta'ala, brothers. Very brief topic, and I will try to bring some motivation in it. It's difficult because the times we are living in are difficult, but I will just want to go through the last 2-3 weeks which we have been discussing an-nikah, or marriage in Islam. Is there anybody who has just come today who was not here the last 2 weeks? Is anyone new?
I missed the first week.
Okay, that's fine. I'm the brother. That's okay. Alhamdulillah. So today, inshallah, brothers and sisters who have just arrived, is really, we went through the issues regarding why get married, what is the logic behind, what does Islam say about getting married, and then we moved on to the second week, that who should get married. But today, inshallah, we're going to focus that once you decide as a man or a woman, so Islam tells us that it is a man and a woman that get married. Yeah, so the society might tell you something else, that a man and a man can get married, and a woman can get married. But Islam tells us quite clearly, Ya ayyuhan nasu inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha waja'alnakum shu'uban wa qaba'ila lita'arafu. O mankind, I have created you from a single pair of a male and a female, and from then we have created the offsprings, the generation, the human race as a whole originated from these two couples. The couple is a man and a woman, number one. Number two, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us clear guidance regarding the roles of both the man and the woman. In the Quran we have many instructions. There's a full chapter regarding the huququn nisa, the rights of the women, which we discussed very briefly last week. That what does Islam say about treating your wife, your mother, your daughter, your grandmother, etc. in a good way, in an Islamic way. But today I want to move on to something very important, that how do we in Islam, what do we look in a partner to get married? What are the main attributes that one should look at? And this is something which we go back to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and he tells us quite clearly in a hadith that a woman or a man in that sense, he or she gets married, or he or she is approached for marriage for one of four things. The Prophet ﷺ says that you look for a partner for yourself who is good looking for her looks, either for her looks, or you look at her status in the society, her tribe, etc., her family, or there's a fourth thing, you also look that she might be of a pious family, of her Islam. And this is something which the Prophet ﷺ tells us, that go for the one which will give you the peace and security in your religion, in your Islam. This goes for both the male and the female. And the Prophet ﷺ has actually told him, there was a Sahabi once, he wanted to get married, and he came to the Prophet ﷺ and said to him that I'm getting married in a few days, I want you to come for the nikah, etc. And he asked him, have you seen this girl, have you seen this woman? And he said no. What did he say to him? He said, go back and look at her. And the ulama, they have said that you're allowed to look at her face and even her feet and her hands. Yes, other scholars have given more leeway, but this is the minimum, that you should look at her because you are going to get married to her, and vice versa, she's allowed also to look at the partner or her husband. And the Prophet ﷺ has also warned us regarding this, that whenever there are two people in the room on their own, and the third person is the shaitan, as we mentioned many weeks ago, that this is really a warning that we must do things with seriousness. It shouldn't be a joke. And one of the things that we take serious is the issue of nikah, of getting married, the issue of talaq. There's no joking in talaq. Once you have uttered those words of talaq, it is binding. Whether you were sleeping, whether you were awake, whether you were drunk, whether you were angry, whether you were, whatever reason you give, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made that binding upon you, that once you give the talaq, it is finished. And also other thing you shouldn't joke about with is when you are looking for a partner, for a mutallaqa, a divorcee or a widow. We should always be serious in that. And there's great rewards, as you all know, in looking for a partner for the ones who have lost their partners, etc. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us clear instructions about how to interact with the opposite sex, the male and the female interaction, that we have to take seriousness, we have to take care, especially when we are talking to them. We shouldn't be talking outside of necessity, especially if it's somebody who's ghair mahram. And this is something which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has firstly commanded the believing men to lower their gaze, and then He also ordered the believing woman that you should lower your gaze, i.e. protect your eyesight. Don't let the shaitan point that arrow towards your opposite, if male or female. So تُنْكَحُ الْمَرْأَةُ لِأَرْبَعٍ. So she's either married for one of the four things. So you should go for the one which is pious, which is compatible with the deen. And he said later on in the same hadith that if you do so, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will give you success. And success doesn't mean that you have many children, you'll have lots of money, etc. Success means that you'll be content in your life, in your deen. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, that you will have content, you will have peace and security. There are also some types of marriages which are not allowed in Islam, which we went through a few weeks ago. But I just covered the part about seeing, because this is something which is still quite unusual. When the marriage is arranged for the couples, we say to them that you cannot see your future wife or your future. This is wrong. You should actually allow them with seriousness, not what you call speed dating or just having a look around check. No, it has to be serious. It cannot be a joke. And free consent is given, as the Prophet ﷺ told us, that the virgin girl is not married without her consent. So the female companions, Aisha, she asked him ﷺ that what if she remains quiet? He said that her quietness, her being quiet, means that she accepts the proposal. Because don't forget, the nikah is of two parts. It's the proposal, ijab wal qabul. So if any of those two are missing, then the whole nikah is invalid. The Ahnaf, they also add that she can get married without a wali, but this is something which is not recommended. You should have a wali or a wakil for the bride, and you should also have two witnesses in order that they witness. And also further from this, that it should be made known. We cannot get married in secret, brothers and sisters. Now this is not our religion. We do not believe in temporary marriage, mut'ah. These are all types of religion, types of nikah which are prohibited. And I mentioned one thing last week, that if somebody wants to do nikah with a spouse or a husband and a wife, and they want to do the walima later on, what does the Sharia say about this? And the Sharia allows it as long as there's no way or there's no sort of instance of fitna. There's no opportunity that these couple are going to meet privately, and they may commit, the acts which is made allowed for them. But further from that, there are things which must be done after the consummation of the marriage. So it has to be done, again, like I mentioned, with seriousness and with taqwa. So I mentioned the nikah prior to the walima, which is, it could be many months, it could be a year, 2 years. There's no issue with that as long as it is serious. And I mentioned the instance of the nikah of al-Mu'mineen, Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, how her marriage was planned and consummated later on after the Battle of Badr. Then we move on, brothers and sisters in Islam, after we prepare the whole scenario, the whole situation, that the man and the woman, or the boy and the girl, they have decided that we have agreed to get married. The parents have been told, the parents have agreed as well that we are going to get married. So what happens in the case where the boy and the girl, they have decided, but the parents haven't given them the blessings? What does the Islam say about this? Because this is a situation you will find a lot, that a boy and a girl love each other, and then the parents or the mother say, no, you cannot get married. I mean, is there any force in this? I mean, what do the brothers think? Are the parents allowed to stop them from getting married?
No.
No, it's true. So they're allowed to get married. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you this right to choose. Obviously, it is better that you have a wakil, you have the witnesses, but in some instances, it may not happen. So again, this is something we need to look at, that is the greater danger of not getting them married is far worse than, obviously the parents will be upset, the parents will not talk to their children, but over time they may accept it. And we have seen parents who after a year, 2 years, they have accepted the marriage. Some even don't, some say no, we don't want to know. And this is really wrong from the side of the parents as well. They should have some flexibility, allow the children to get married in other castes, in other even nationality, because don't forget we are Muslims, so that the hadith rings really importance, that marry off your son and your daughter for the Islam, not for the tribalism, not for nationality, etc. So very, very important point, brothers, keep that in mind. You're not allowed to get married to your in-laws, your mother-in-law, your daughter-in-law. All these are things which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made haram. You're not allowed to have two sisters in marriage at the same time. And don't forget, polygamy, it is not allowed in this country. You're not allowed to have more than one wife. In Islam, it allows it, but it allows it with conditions. And the conditions are that you must treat them with justice. If you don't, what will happen? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring you on the day of judgment, and you'll be slanted, you'll be on the side. So your body will be leaning towards one side. What that means is that you were unjust on one half of your partner. So for one, you were giving money, you were giving her the expenditure. And this is something we see, that the excuse is used that she was my first wife, so I don't have to give the rights to the second wife. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet completely forbade, that you must give her the rights as your wife. You must give her the second, you must feed her, you must provide for her, because she is, end of the day, your wife. So you have to be very, very careful. It's not an easy topic. People think that you get married, the second wife, it is plain sailing. It is very, very difficult. It's something which the Prophet ﷺ said, one thing, that the love, you might not be able to control, you might love one of the wives more than the other, but the physical justice needs to be done. Are you spending time with them equally, providing the food, the second, the house? All should be done as what is ascribed by the Sharia of Islam. So I mentioned temporary marriage. This is something which some scholars, when there were instances, this was made allowed in the early days of Islam. Later on, the Prophet ﷺ forbade it. He forbade temporary marriage. So keep that in mind. The marriage has to be consummated. It has to be brought together with the intention that you would stay together. And I always say this to the youngsters when they get married, that don't think that, once you get married, don't look at these movies and these dramas, how they portray these marriages, that it'll be plain sailing, you will have a nice life, your wife will be there, you'll be there, she'll be serving you tea and coffee and you'll be just sitting there. No, there's things that you have to do as well. You have to roll your sleeves up. The Prophet ﷺ, how was he in the house? How was he in the house of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, and all the other wives which he has, alayhi salatu wasalam? He used to work in the house, he used to do the cleaning up, he used to always stitch his own clothes and his own sandals, he used to clean his own dish. These were things which he sallallahu used to do in order to help his wife. So you should always be realistic. We have this picture or this imagination that the wedding or the marriage life will be such and such. And we take our examples not from the seerah but from the movies and the Bollywood and the Hollywood, which is all fake. There's nothing real about them. You know, what they are portraying to you on the screen is completely different to what they are in reality. When you see these people in reality, they are completely opposite. Number one, they don't have any wives or children. If they do, they have them as and when they desire. The family structure completely has been destroyed. There's no commitment to the husbands and to the wives. The wife is, the partners are both working. The children are probably in nursery somewhere being looked after. And this is the life, the materialistic life which they are trying to portray to our youngsters who are unfortunately being affected. And one of the ills of this, which I'm going to go into later on, is what we are finding is our youngsters, they're past the age of 20, 25, 30, 35, even 40, and yet they are still on the search, on the lookout for a spouse, for a partner. And this is something which is prevalent in all the societies, in all the different nationalities. You look at the Pakistani community, they have this issue. The Bangladeshi community has this issue. Even the Arab society, you go to Mecca and Medina, it is starting to creep up even in those societies. And when you go to North Africa, it is even worse. 40, 45 is a normal age for them to get married. So these are all the effects of delaying the marriage. This is something we need to really think about sincerely and with really seriousness. We shouldn't take it as a joke. We shouldn't take marriage as a joke. There are many instances where the Prophet ﷺ would say to the Sahaba that, you know, look for someone who's compatible in your deen, in your outlook, in your characteristics. There are certain things you can look for. But a lot of the time, what was his advice was that you should look for the Dhat Deen, the one who is committed, the one who is close to the Deen. Not just the woman. You know, sometimes we stress that it's only for the woman. You should also look for Dhat Deen in the man as well. You know, these hadith, they encompass both the male and the female. Let us move on very, very briskly onto the walima after the nikah. The nikah, I would say one thing, is something which we advise and we encourage. Have the nikah, you know, even in the masjid if you can, in the house of the girl, in the house of the boy. Get that done in a blessed way. What I find is that if you're doing the nikah in the wedding hall, there are a lot of distractions. Number one, you know, there's a music going on in the background, or at least there is some nasheed going on in the background. So there's distraction. Usually there is free mixing of the male and the female, and then so there's a lot of things which will obviously distract you from the main focus of the nikah. And the nikah is really the most important part in any marriage preparation. This is really something you need to look into. What we do, what is our response to nikah? We look at it and we say it can be done in 5, 6, 10 minutes. It's true, it can be done very, very quickly. The khutbah to nikah is only a few minutes. Then the ijab and qabul, the mahar needs to be stated. The mahar is something which is very, very important. You're not allowed to marry someone without stating the mahar. That type of marriage has been made forbidden in Islam. Like for instance, I give my daughter to someone and someone else gives their daughter to me without any mahar. This is something which is highly forbidden in Islam. You're not allowed to do this. You should state a mahar, whatever it is. Whether it is £100, £200, £500, whatever it is. At least what the ulama they do, they set a mahar mithli, which is something which it is common in the society at that time, and the fuqaha they're allowed to stress upon this. So before we move on, we've covered the prohibited types of marriages, mut'ah, the marriage of the sisters, the in-laws. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he says about the in-laws, you know, that how much interactions, and he called them the in-laws are the death, i.e. there's more fitna in the in-laws, i.e. you have married off, say your daughter to someone's house, so they become the in-laws, don't they? Or you marry someone's daughter, you become their in-laws. So that is really the relationship which is dangerous. This is something which the Prophet ﷺ who warned us even more than the Ghair Mahram. He said this is something which is severe, so be careful. And the girl and the boy, they have rights. You know, if they want to have their own privacy, it is allowed for them within their means, which we will come to later on. That if we are thinking that we need to be living in a 5-bedroom or 6-bedroom house, and we need to be earning so many thousands of pounds a month, then it's a hindrance. Then we cannot achieve that. Even if you're on the best of salaries, this is something which becomes a problem. So we'll come to that what are the basic rights of the wife. And the wife, when we say the wife, the husband has some rights upon his wife as well. Dowry, very, very important. Don't look at this as a prize gift. This is actually a gift. A mahr is a gift which should be given to the wife. Whether she accepts it, it's up to her. She can even give it back to her husband. The dowry must be paid either there and then when the nikah has been done, or later on. So it could be delayed by a few months or even up to a year, as whatever is agreed by the two partners, by the husband and wife. So the nikah has been done now, and you're moving on for the preparations for the walima. And the walima is a feast which is given after the two couples have got together as a husband and wife, after the consummation of the marriage. And as I said, this could be a day after the nikah, it could be a month, 6 months. Whenever that happens, this is really to celebrate and to be happy on this joyous occasion. Yeah, but this joyous occasion, you know, the Prophet ﷺ mentions that the walima which has the poor invited, or where the poor come to it, is the best of walima. What happens nowadays is we write invitation cards that so-and-so has invited me to his walima, so I'm going to invite him or her. And we have a list of about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, even up to 1,000 people who are going to come, and they're going to be in that walima, and they're going to eat and drink. Whether they make dua for you is another thing. They might actually even insult you if the food is not good. These are the realities, so we have to be realistic. And the walima doesn't have to be a massive banquet of 1,000 people. Even if you give some food to your friend, take him to the restaurant, say, brother, I'm giving you some food because I have done my rights as a husband and wife. I'm going to celebrate with me. This is also allowed. You don't have to be a big, massive. What's happening now, this mutual rivalry, that so-and-so has spent, say, 20,000 on his walima, I must spend more than that, 25, 30,000. This is a mutual rivalry. What that is resulting in is that youngsters, both male and female, have been locked out. So their ways have been blocked. They cannot find a woman, because when they approach the woman, the first thing they ask you is not how much of the Quran you know. What will they ask you the first thing when you ask a woman? If you go to the father, what is he going to ask you? What do you think is the most common question in a proposal?
What do you do as a profession? What do you do as a job? How much are you earning?
How much are you earning? So the hadith says that you will either marry for the mal, for the beauty, or for the qabila, the tribe, or for the deen. So they'll either ask you, which tribe are you from in Pakistan or India? Oh no, we have, your caste is lower than our caste. Sorry, we cannot give our daughter, it'll be based here, etc. Problem. How much you're earning 20,000. Oh, this is nothing, you need to be earning 30, 40,000. How do you look after my daughter? She's so innocent. I looked after her in the house, I provided her with servants. If a girl has been, listen to this, if a girl has had servants in her house, if you're going to marry her, you must also provide her with servants. So make sure you look at someone who's not of that class. Yeah, this is the Shari rule. If you're marrying someone who's from the royal family, etc., and they have servants, you have to provide them. So go for someone who's normal, not a high class, normal class. Yeah, so they'll ask you, do you have a degree? Are you doctor, engineer? What are you? These are all false notions. This is really an issue which we are finding more and more about as we go along. And don't think it's just a male issue, it is also a female issue. So the female, when she goes and proposes to say someone, then also ask her. It's strange, then ask her, okay, so how much have you studied? Or how much do you earn even? Have you heard of this in your life? That the girl is also being asked that what is your caste, how much do you earn? I forget about the deen. What you pray is up to you. That's your own personal issue. Whether you wear hijab, it doesn't matter. It's fine. It's between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How much you earning? Because we are in a situation where both male and female are working. So we need to really educate our youngsters. This is something, it's not going to happen overnight. This is creeping into the societies which we call Islamic societies in Arabia, in India, Pakistan. These are all things which are creeping in. The worst thing which I've seen in India, Pakistan, is when a girl is getting married, guess who pays for the furniture?
The daughter.
The daughter. I was thinking, what type of dhulm is this? You're taking her daughter, you're taking the girl from the house, and you're making them pay for the furniture, for the bed, and it's actually sometimes more than the walima itself. I was thinking, subhanAllah, what a dhulm. So a lot of the families who have this in their tradition, they're keeping away from getting their daughters married, unless the girl, or the guy, or the male actually pays for it. And it's really, the Shari hukum on this, which I'm going to come to, you know, the man must, if he can, do the preparation for the nikah, for the walima, for her sakan. The woman doesn't have to do anything. You cannot force the family of the bride, even for the jewelry, even for the furniture, for the food, whatever you're doing. You know, that rukhsati, which you call it, that rukhsati is something simple. All you are doing, you're going to the girl's house, having a cup of tea, some chai, and you're taking her with respect from the father's house, or from the grandfather's house, or from the mother's house. You're taking her from that house into your house after the nikah, obviously. You cannot do that. You cannot do that unless you've done the nikah. Then you take it to your house, you consummate the marriage, then the wedding. This was the tradition. This is how the sunnah tells us to. Now what we have, as you all know, we have the nikah, we have the rukhsati, which is also a big party. Yeah, they say this is from the girl's side. So when they call us for the nikah, we get confused sometimes. We think, so whose side is this? Is it the girl's side or the boy's side? Or sometimes they say this is the girl's side, other times they say this is the boy's side. Sometimes they say it's two in one. I said, alhamdulillah, at least you have seen some sense, you're doing it together. Something you are sharing the response, which is good. At least the burden is less on either one of the families. So extravagance in the walima. In the nikah, they tend not to be extravagant. You know, if they spend, this is just a joke now, when they spend, say, 20,000 on the walima, they might give you 20 pounds or 50 pounds or 100 pounds for the masjid. And I was in Pakistan once, and an alim, he did the nikah of someone, and there was you know, those who dance in weddings, hijri, you know, the hijris, you know, the she-males, she-boys, whatever they call them. So they came to the bride's side, and what did he do? He gave them 10,000 rupees. So the turn of the alim came. He goes to the alim, how much should I give you, Ya Sheikh? He goes to me, as long as you respect him more than this guy or this girl that you're giving 10,000 to. So he gave, out of shame, he gave him 20,000 rupees. Alhamdulillah. So this is the reality. He wasn't ashamed to say that. He was an Afghani alim, and he's still alive, mashallah, in Pakistan. So this is when we look at the deen side, halanki, the expenditure. I'm not saying, you know, spend too much on the nikah. No, this is wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm saying keep it simple. Even the nikah, come here, do the nikah, you know, and give some matai, some kajur, some water, whatever you can give, and go and do the rest of it when you have time later on in your life. So that's something which you should really be very, very careful. We're going to finish off, inshallah, in the next few minutes. So I mentioned the financial aspects. Ar-rijalu qawwamun. You know, when we hear this ayah, Ar-rijalu qawwamun ala nisa, the false notion which we have, unfortunately, in this part of the world, that Ar-rijalu qawwamun means that we must dictate them. Ar-rijalu qawwamun means that you must be there solid. You must be there by their side to protect them, to feed them, to clothe them. Even the children is your responsibility. She does not have to pay towards maintenance for her children while they're under your care. You must look after them. You must pay for their daily needs. The worst thing that happened, brothers and sisters in Islam, is when we lost this sunnah of providing for our families. You know, we've lost that respect. So nowadays, if the husband's not working, the wife will go out working, and so she looks down at the husband that you are no good. You know, you're not even providing for me. She has a right to say that, because that's what's happened. Halanki, it's not upon her. If she wants to go and work, halal, she's fine. She can work. Nobody's stopping her. But really, the qawamun here are the male, the mard, that they should provide. And never ask your wife. You know, when the day comes that you ask your wife, even for £1, for £2, you know, unless it is necessity, that you're broke, you have no money, then you can support one another. Again, I don't want this to come and as if I'm saying that the woman should completely not give her husband any money. No, if the situation comes that he's in a bad situation, he's in debt, yeah, she must pay and she must help him. Yeah, she must have. But again, the husband mustn't take advantage of that situation. Remember this. After the wedding, I'm not going to go too much into details that what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these are things which you all know, that what are the basic rights that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam told us to give towards his wife. There are certain rules with regarding the nikah, that in what time of the year or what time of the month you are allowed to propose and not. But these are things which you will get to know bi-idhnillah wa ta'ala later on, inshallah wa ta'ala. Umar ibn al-Khattab, he says really a beautiful thing. But before I get to that, just to bring home the reality of a husband and a wife, one of the scholars, they say that you can be either one of two things when you're picking a wife. You can either look at the story of Romeo and Juliet. What was the ending of Romeo and Juliet? How did it end? Does anyone remember this story in school? Death. Both, yeah. They died both. Both of them or just one of them? Both of them, okay. You can either choose that, so they call that love marriage or whatever you can call it, or you can go and you can choose the second option, which is the zawaj, which the Prophet ﷺ has showed us, which doesn't end in death. You know, you might go through many hurdles, obstacles in your life, but that doesn't mean that you give up. You know, this is really a great jihad, the jihad of keeping a family together. Too many times we see people just give up, they get fed up, they say no, we cannot handle it anymore. You know, the children, no, they're still young, we want to separate them. So never let the shaitan creep into your lives as a husband and wife. Don't be like Romeo and Juliet where it finishes with death. Rather take the example of how the Prophet ﷺ, he married Khadija radiallahu ta'ala, and she was much senior to him. She was older than him. So don't be scared that if your wife is older than you, it's fine. If she's divorced, it's fine. If she has lost her husband, it's fine. It doesn't matter, you know, as long as you have some compatibility, even in the deen, in the mannerism, etc., it will help you to grow this. And they say that, you know, it's something which takes time. You know, the marriage, it takes time to blossom. It's like a flower. You plant it, it starts to grow, then the buds come out, and then the flower comes out. So it takes time. Don't rush. We will say, when we say this to the newlywed couple, that don't throw the towel in too early. When a dhulm takes place on either one of the sides, this is when we are really serious. When the dhulm takes place either from the husband's side or the wife's side, we need to step in. We shouldn't be afraid. Dhulm is something which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not accept. Yeah, when we see dhulm on our sisters, on our brothers, we must help them. As a family, first of all. If the family just want to ignore it, then the community as a whole needs to step in. This is lazim. This is fard lazim. You should do this at all costs. And there is great thawab for bringing two couples back together. There is great thawab in this. It is something which you can do many hajj, but you will not get the same thawab as bringing a couple together. The Prophet ﷺ tells us that the shaitan, he rejoices when the couple are split. So the big shaitan is there sitting, and the small shayateens will come. So he will ask each one, what did you do today? He said, well, I went and I made somebody commit zina. He said, oh, that's a big thing. Yeah, good. He gives him a tap. He said, I went and I did something else. This guy went and he stole some food. Very good. Then the third one will come, he'll say, you know what I did? He said, I managed to split a couple up. He goes, oh, Shabazz, this is good. This is the guy that you should all be like. So he gives them the glad tidings that, yeah, you are my boy. You are with me. So this is how much, stress he's given of farq bayn al-mar'i wa zawji. And we see the shayateen, we also see the jinnat, they have this rivalry between one another. Yeah, when Sulaiman alayhi salam when he was alive, the jinn came, and this was something which they used to do. They used to destroy the family structure, the husband and the wife. So we have to keep this in mind at all times. When we feel as husbands or as wives that things are getting tough and we need to get help, don't be shy. Don't be shy to ask for help. Those two witnesses that are sitting in your nikah and the wali, this is the first point of contact. Even the imam, don't think the imam is just there for that 5 minutes, 10 minutes. He takes his money and he goes. No, he has to be there when things go wrong. I don't think a lot of the ulama, they realize this issue, because when you get a call from someone outside the masjid that we want to come and discuss issues regarding talaq, they say, no, go away, we don't want to know. We don't want to get involved. This is a reality, brothers and sisters. This is really a sad reality, that we don't have a council where they arbitrate, where they reconcile between the spouses. Something which we are working on, inshallah. We're working on a model in Rochdale where we'll have a group of 15, 20 ulamas, imams, who will sit down monthly with all the cases, and they can actually not force, but make sure that the husband is not wronging the wife, and also the wife is not wronging the husband. How you will say that? How will the wife not wrong the husband? Sometimes they have the talaq. Talaq is actually the next topic we will cover. Allah knows when. I'll try to get it ready as soon as possible. But talaq happens and the child, it stays with the wife forever. She doesn't allow, this is dhulm upon the father. The Prophet ﷺ has actually given him the right as well to see the children. Yes, he might have been wronging you as a wife, but why are you keeping him away from his child? Yes, if there's issues, if this person is a bit crazy and he cannot look after his child, then you keep him away. If there's danger to the child, we're not saying let him see his child. No, we say keep him away. If there's any danger to life, to property, then this child needs to be protected. Alhamdulillah, there are many rules and regulations regarding the talaq, which we will cover next week. I'll finish off on one of the great sayings of the second caliph of Islam, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. This is when you get married, inshallah. This is really how we should be with our wife or wives. A man should be like a child with his wife, but if she needs him, he should act like a man. He should act like a man. So what does this tell you? That when you are in the normal circumstances, when you are joking with your wife, when you are talking to her, you shouldn't be too serious. Yeah, obviously she will say something, you will say something, but when the time comes for seriousness, this is a lot of time where our brothers, they miss the trick. That the woman, she's giving him hints that I need you to be more serious, in certain aspects, i.e. the children, looking after the children, not neglecting them, making sure they'll be provided for. These are all rights which, if you force her to leave the house and go to work, you're also sinning on that as well. So you should be there for her and for the children. So be there as a man, as somebody who looks after the house in privacy, and anything that happens in the house or between yourselves, this is a great sin. That anything happens in the four corners of the house between you and your wife, don't advertise it on Facebook. People get engaged, they get married, they get divorced in a matter of a few days. So we've engaged, we got married, and we now divorced, and they put it on Facebook as if there's something they're proud about. No, don't put personal things, even pictures, of your children. I'm really against this. Don't put the pictures of your children on Facebook. You don't know which shaitan is looking at it. Which devil is looking at the picture of your innocent child, or even your wife, or even yourself, unless you have to. So you have to be very, very careful in these regards. I finish off with these points. I hope I have covered most of the points, but let's just make the act of marriage as simple as possible, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will verily bring barakah to that. If anyone has benefited from these 3 weeks, please make dua for everyone, for the brothers and sisters who are still single, because it is ultimately for them who we have prepared these reminders. If anyone does benefit from them, then please make dua for all of us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to the straight path, and may He allow us to make this act of marriage, nikah, walima, all in accordance to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Shall we have